Hey guys, and welcome to a battle between the proud warriors of the Dowie, led by myself, up against Papa Palpatine and the evil and conniving forces of the Warriors of Chaos. Now you may have noticed we are currently in glorious regal red, and that is because we are playing Karak Kadrin, Lord Ungrim's forces. We have to pause this quick as the battle does get underway rather quickly, and of course we do have Ungrim himself, Ungrim Iron Fist, the ultimate Slayer King. Now, most consider him to be the least competitive of the Dwarf Lords, and I probably would say I agree with it for the most part, but I think he certainly has his applications up against Lizardman, and he can do some decent work up against Chaos. You can see we brought him relatively naked. He does have a few of his buffs, but we haven't brought all his extra gear. He's going to be rocking side by side by Felix the Manling, so Gotrek obviously entrusted Felix into the great care of Ungrim. Now Felix is not going to be bringing his sword, but apart from that he does come with some nice abilities. Of course, he's going to be coming in with Help in Hand to help protect Ungrim, as well as my Runesmith I've brought. He does have the classic Foe Seeker Deadly Onslaught, and comes with the Blood Oath. So he's going to be healing up the Slayer, which I feel like could be a really deadly combination, as of course Ungrim is a little bit squishy with his lack of, actually no, I mean 120 armor, but again, he's a little bit squishy as a Footlord. In the centre of our beautiful dwarf geometry here, we do have double cannon. One of them is chevroned up, and those guys can be protected by the Dragonback Slayers, the RRR Slayers, who can slow down troops and overall do some decent damage. Now we're going to be using the natural kind of big old crevice here on this map to our advantage and try to use it to cover one of our flanks. In the front lines we have a mixture of the Grumbling Guard and Norgrim Ironbreakers, so bad to the bone there. These guys should hold for an absolute eternity. In the back lines we have a couple of miners with blasts and charges to help deal with marauders, and over on the left hand flank we have another unit of Ironbreakers and the Hammerers, so a pretty hardcore build overall, as well as a Runesmith bringing all of his runes, plus the most important part of this build I would argue is the Hammer of Karak Drazzer is what I'm going to say there, which is minus 30% weapon damage and minus 40 melee attack. So you get those nasty Exalted Heroes coming in to try and snipe any of your characters, any big Colex, Sun Eaters, Archaons and so forth. You drop that on them and all of a sudden they can't hit anything, let alone a mighty and proud Dowie. Now for the forces of Palpatine and his Chaos, we have a mixture of Chaos Warriors with great weapons and Marauders with great weapons, all the way dotted along the front line, going incredibly wide. I really like this pick overall. You move up with the Chaos Warriors to take those blasting charges, and then the Marauders can come in there and really start pounding down the enemy. We do have the Demon Spear, which often seems like a bit of an odd pick. They of course are great damages and have poison attacks, but the reason you bring these guys is because of his lord today, the gigantic pigeon himself, the Everwatcher, of course, is Law of Metal. So he can come in with Arcane Conduit, Transmutation of Lead, which is going to be very good, and Plague of Rust. You drop Plague of Rust down on some fools, and then you come in with the Demon Spew, and they can certainly tear up some Dowie forces. Of course, is Double Chariot as well, very competitive against Dwarves, who are known to struggle up against such things, and 2 Exalted Heroes up in the sky as well for that backline harass. So without further ado, let's get this grudge match underway. So the cannon's instantly going to start loosening some shots into that Exalted Hero, and with brilliant Dowie accuracy there, we clobber him so bad, down to nearly half health off one volley, which is some glorious stuff. As you can see, we are deploying our lines, realising that he's going to be approaching from just the one angle here. So we are moving our Iron Breakers up, and our miners are slowly dotted around as well. The cannon's going to continue to pressure the Exalted Hero just for 1 or 2 volleys before switching our targets. This is something you definitely want to do if you are in control of such war machines. As you can see, Papa Palpatine, a very good player, going to be duking back and forth with his Exalted Hero. So we keep him guessing, we switch up the targets and start pounding down these chariots. So we're going to hit them with 1 or 2 volleys before once again realigning our sights and popping at some different targets. You can see this guy's taking a bit of a hammer in here, down to half health as well. So I now see that the Demon Spew, quite an important unit, are currently have their flank to me. So it's a long line of enemies. So we are going to be targeting them. Looks like they do redeploy though, just as we hit them with the cannonballs to the face. Front line is about to get underway, and as you can see, the Chaos Marauders being kept in the back, so my blasting charges are simply going to go into the much more heavily armoured Chaos Warriors. At this point though, I'm pretty content with throwing them into these guys, and I do want to do as much damage as possible. As you can see, that is a bit of a nuking from those guys, and the Grumbling Guards should be able to hold the line for a decent amount of time. Demon Spew taking quite a few cannon shots to the face now, down to just above half health here, but of course the Exalted Heroes and the Chariots are now relatively safe. In comes the first sniping attempt by the Exalted Heroes, and this is what they're perfect for. Going to be dropping down on Runesmiths and so forth, but it looks like they are going for Felix, and gets a big old clobber there, but luckily for me, chucks Felix to the ground. Now, the good thing about Footlords is they're pretty hard to snipe because they do get thrown around quite a lot by big monsters. Bad thing is they're very slow, and that can help them get sniped, so it's a bit of back and forth. The Runesmith joins up in all his buffs, plus has helping hand on him to keep him safe from the Everwatcher, as well as the hammer coming down to ensure that front line does hold. And this Exalted Hero just got absolutely nuked by a combination of Felix, Ironbreakers, and of course Ungrim, the ultimate monster hunter. Down to just 400 health, he's going to be fleeing up into the sky. So my Miners of Blast and Charges are being forced into the front line up into Chaos Warriors, just trying to plug the gap, as the cannons do pop shots at the Chaos Chariots, but they're a lot harder to hit when they're on the move, and they're expecting a little bit. Our right flank is relatively open here, with just some miners holding the line desperately here. And it looks like there are some big buffs coming down in the centre pocket as well by the Everwatcher, trying to help him grind down these forces. We do have an upgraded transmutation of lead, which is basically making my guy's combat stats completely and utterly worthless at this point, while he tries to deal with the back line. Slayers are being pushed forward to try and help out these miners deal with Chaos Chariots, and Palpatine going to be taking that opportunity to pop in with an Exalted Hero, but we did have the Hammers in reserve. I'm trying to loop them round to keep him packed in here. It looks like he's going to be plodding away quite fast there. He's some really funky kind of strutting animations, as he's going to be able to escape back up into the skies, as the second Exalted Hero now comes in once more. Chariots are darting into the back line, and it is a bit of a mess now. As you can see, my formation has been completely crumbled. Both the cannons are being swarmed, but they've done a decent job overall and good HP. We do whack one of these Chaos Chariots with a Rune of Wrath and Ruin, trying to pin him in place with our Hammers and Slayers. But in come the Demon Spew. These guys are going to do awesome work up against my Hammers. You can see an upgraded Plague of Rust, minus 60 armor on these guys. And that's going to allow the Demon Spew to certainly, make them pay the price for dealing with their Chaos Chariots. In comes the Exalted Hero once again, trying to snipe out Felix, but he just cannot seem to hit this guy. I'm quite happy to have Felix fighting against the Demon Spew. He can carve these guys down, as you can see, decapitating 3 Chaos Warriors, or Forsaken there, in one go, as the rest of our forces do decide to start chasing back that nasty Exalted Hero. As for the front line, the Runesmith doing pretty decent. He doesn't get many kills in combat, but he's ensuring the Norgrim Ironbreakers and the basic units do hold for a ridiculous amount of time, holding back huge waves of Chaos Warriors here. We do have a Rune of Negation and all those good buffs going down. Looks like another snipe attempt is coming down on the Runesmith, and it's a bit pretty tanky though. He does have the Rune, and once again gets shoved to the ground. He's now going to be fleeing between his loyal bodyguard, as another transmutation of lead does come down, really helping the Chaos grind out the front line engagement. In the back lines here in this messy display, Felix is still carving up the Demon Spew very effectively here. As you can see, more bodies are being flung all around him, but the Hammers have unfortunately paid the price, being absolutely stomped by a really nice combination play there. Chaos Chariots are being a little bit stuck in the back lines. They need to get a little bit more mobile, as they are slowly being pulled apart by the high weapon strength of the Hammers. Ungrim just doing what Ungrim does best, holding the line and slowly pick on some Chaos Marauders here with his gigantic axe. He's assisted by the Dragonback Slayers, an engagement I didn't really want to take. I didn't have too much choice here. And in the back, the Runesmith is flung to the ground, taking a bit of damage here by the Everwatcher. But once again, on the ground, he's not taking damage, so he's going to be falling back as much as possible, even though he is taking 1 or 2 clobberings here. In the front line, the Ironbreakers holding firm still, even though they're both completely surrounded here, and all the debuffs going down are certainly doing some great work. The Runesmith did take a bit of a beating, but Rune of Oath is still going to give him that bonus to armor, which is of course going to help Ungrim as well, and he gets absolutely punted there by the big old Everwatcher, but luckily into friendly forces. And Felix, who does have an upgraded Plague of Rust on him, you can see he's been attempting to snipe him all game, which is a really good idea. Felix is relatively squishy as a Manling, and of course he's going to be healing up the Runesmith and Ungrim constantly during the course of the battle, but we're simply going to walk away from the main engagement while that is active. And now it looks like the Exalted Hero trying to do some nice cycle charging and finally break these brave Dowie warriors. Over on the flank, we do have some miners returning with blasting charges, and I do see a nice blob here. So there is only 20 of these guys left, but that's still 20 blasting charges they can throw into this big old mix. The Hammers, unfortunately, are now terrified and starting to break, but the backline is kind of finally being secure here. Unfortunately, all my cannons have been dealt with for the most part. But we did, manage to deal with the large amount of resources which did eventually break in. We do have those blasting charges coming, doing some pretty good damage considering how tightly packed these guys are here. We do have a couple of volleys of those to come in from these boys. There is a very healthy Exalted Hero, and of course the Everwatcher pretty much at full health. My main plan at this point was to leave him to the end, despite the magic damage he can do. As you can see, my forces are basically diminished to 1 or 2 units. We do have 8 Dragonback Slayers trying fruitlessly to chase down some Chaos Chariots, but apart from that we have the 1 unit of Ironbreakers and our glorious Hero Core. Balance power slightly against us here, but I am relatively confident. These are some pretty damn tough characters, and you can never say that you're not going to win when Ungrim still stands. He must fall before I would admit defeat, and he's gloriously going to be charging in after the Everwatcher here, trying to get in a few clubs at those lovely chicken legs there, but unfortunately it looks like he did his attacks didn't connect, and the Everwatcher is going to simply be able to frolic her way. Ironbreakers trying their best. We do have Rune of Oath still and Rune of Negation coming. Going to be really helping out Felix here. He does have the Plague of Rust popped on him, with all our buffs from the Runesmith and the glorious Ungrim coming in to protect his Manling friend. We're easily going to be able to drive off this Exalted Hero, who has been hit by Rune of Wrath and Ruin as well. He takes 1 or 2 big clobbers in the back there. It looks like he may just about be able to escape, as his buddy, the Everwatcher, does come in, flinging our poor Runesmith down to the ground. Now, for the rest of the battle, it looks like there is some units which could still rally for the Chaos, but they are pretty all beat up and couldn't stand up to the glorious Hero Core, so it's often going to come down to the sniping abilities here of the Everwatcher and the Exalted Hero, while the rest of the troops attempt to grind down, but as long as the Runesmith still stands, as well as Felix, they're going to be constantly healing and buffing up Ungrim, and he will be able to pack the punch and deal the damage. However, Felix as well is a decent combat. He's very good at clearing up chaff, as you see, getting some big swings in there, as the Everwatcher once again comes in for a sniping attempt, but not doing too much damage. Felix has been very lucky so far, been spending most of the time on the ground. Dr. Hero also comes in, and we're going to be trying to target him down as much as possible. He is relatively low on health, and not the most durable of characters. It looks like he's going to be able to escape again. And at this point, I was really worried the Dowie are going to fall into the trap of the Cycle Charge, which can often be the death of Dowie characters and Footlords in general. Yes, they get, as I've said multiple times so far, they hit the deck and don't take damage, but at the same time, eventually they will be ground out and their leadership broken. We are dropping another Rune of Oath still here, trying to keep us all active. And it's not going too bad in this melee fight. Felix does get pushed a little bit far out. We do drop the hammer once again on the Everwatcher, making him pretty much useless. We actually have a quick look at his stats here. His melee attack is down to 20, and up against the melee defense of these brave characters, he is very rarely going to be able to make a hit. And I was okay with the Exalted Hero getting a 1 or 2 licks in, as if he's in combat, he's also taking damage, and he was very close to dying here. So it looks like Felix unfortunately has been terrified here. There's not too many places for him to go, so he should be able to rally relatively close to the pocket of strength here. Ungrim very proud so far of his Manling and Runesmith allies here. His Rune of Negation does go down. Nice diligent play coming in by the Chaos, hunting down these rallying Ironbreakers. Doesn't want to keep them near the main engagement. Wants to push that balance power as far in his favour as possible. But it looks like it's very slightly in favour of the forces of Karakadrin so far, as oaths are spat in the faces of these Chaos. And Ungrim once again coming in with some big cleaving strikes on these Chaos Warriors with great weapons. And Felix loves to decapitate people. He's been doing it all game so far, up to 57 kills up against pretty elite troops. Very impressed so far. Chaos Warriors desperately trying to hold the line, while the rest of his hard hitters are clearing up my cheap and cheerful rallying units. Let's see. Chaos Warriors close to break in now, as the Hero Core once again comes in with a big slap there on Felix, who's absolutely taken a pound in now. So it looks like his luck is slightly starting to wear out, unfortunately. Foe Seeker has been popped down here, and Ungrim fighting back to back with him, though. It's getting some huge cleaving strikes on the Exalted Hero, trying to bring him down, as we see the glorious feathers taking up the screen. So Ungrim gets stabbed in the back, but he's going to be felling the foul beast, who does come down to the ground there, which is just going to leave the Everwatcher standing. It looks like we do have some nasty Plague of Rust once again coming down on Ungrim, as the balance power starts swooping heavily in my favour. The best bet here probably to snipe Ungrim and then break the leadership of the Runesmith and Felix. So of course those guys are going to be standing and fighting as long as their Liege Lord is here. Felix getting very danger low here, but healing up these troops all the while, and he gets absolutely punted, along with some pesky Chaos Marauders who do break though. Felix is going to be darting back here as Ungrim is going toe-to-toe with the mighty beast. He has slain far greater foes than the Everwatcher before, having dealt blows against incredibly huge giants, demons, and the like. It looks like he's going toe-to-toe once again, coming in some big cleaving strikes. The Everwatcher down to just 1,500 health. And it looks like the hero core is about to stand. Where is Felix? Looks like he is coming back into the main action, although he's incredibly beat up. Ungrim does get flung to the ground as Felix desperately tries to dart in and save and protect his dwarf friend here. And for that favour, Ungrim, bam! A massive strike deep into the chest there of the Everwatcher, and down the chicken goes. A very Pyrrhic victory of not many forces left at all. So let's get in here and break down the game a little bit. So this was actually part of a DBD civil war that we're doing kind of behind the scenes just to keep in practice, although it's all in good fun. And I have a sneaky confession to make. This is not my Dowie build, or not one that I would have considered bringing. This is in fact a build recommended in a Dowie guide, which I highly recommend to new players trying to learn the Dowie forces and experienced players, which is made by a few people, including a move hacker, who is the one who sent it to me. So I'm going to be dropping a link for that in the description. I did change a few things around. I brought Ungrim myself because I love him so much, even though he's not the most competitive. I think this build early on may have had the White Dwarf or Thorgrim or someone instead, but it works pretty damn well. The Ironbreakers can hold even up against Chaos Warriors with great weapons, and they do fantastic damage against Marauders. You often see people spam these guys, and those blasting charges can really do some decent work. The double cannon to put pressure on the chariots and large foes did pretty damn good, and also enticed in a ton of backline harass from the Exalted Heroes and so forth, which is what we needed to get Ungrim on them, as well as the Slayers overall. But the hero core were the real true champs. Felix surviving a ridiculous number of attacks due to some lucky RNG, but also the Runesmith constantly buffing him up, and debuffing the enemy certainly did help. So 68, 25, 84, the true champs of the old world and the new. As for Palpatine's forces, I'm quite a big fan of it, actually. It's quite a decent build. The Exalted Heroes to snipe out Runesmiths and so forth, and of course the Everwatcher to bring in those glorious Plagues of Rust, which really allowed the Demon Spew to pay for themselves. Even though they took a lot of damage from the cannons, they got in there and wrecked the Hammerers. Hammerers just about managed to endure, mainly due to the help of Felix, and got some okay value in the end, I suppose. But overall, massive shout out to Palpatine for the games. I was going to be casting a different game, but it was a Wood Elf one, which was the same as my last replay, against a same foe as well. So that'll be probably coming later in the week, perhaps Monday instead. But it's a really fun game by Loopy, and it's some crazy good stuff. And guys, if you did enjoy, please do consider giving the video a big old thumbs up and a subscribe if you're not already. We are going to be constantly doing Total War content for the foreseeable future, and with the DLC coming, we have some really exciting stuff just around the corner. If you do want to see yourself on the big screen, if you want to send in replays for me to cast, get involved in tournaments, and just chat with a load of really cool, awesome players, feel free to join my Discord. There is a link just down in the description below. Anyway guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.